For those that are tuning in live, thank you. For those that are here anywhere, whenever you are, I hope you're having an incredible day. This is a special day for us at The Boost. I believe today is our 100th episode anniversary. So mazel tov to everybody. And if you're joining us now for the first time, welcome. What's really critical is you can join at any point. There's no, you don't have to go to the beginning. We circle, we review. It's a relationship. So wherever you join us, we appreciate and we welcome you. We've been talking a lot about this idea of happiness. Last week, we spent a lot of time in the world of the traps. Materialism is a trap to happiness. Studies have shown that materialism actually is, believe it or not, if it's not properly digested, it could be a block to happiness. It's a tremendous concept. When you look at individuals that are blessed materially, and you don't see them happier than those that aren't, and it doesn't make any sense. And the reason is because material things are not necessarily going to feed happiness. You have to actually put them in properly. And if you don't, they can actually hurt. Because what will happen is they'll create a reliance on a certain amount of materialism. Now you have to maintain that standard. And if you maintain that if you can't maintain that standard, now it drops. So take a person who, let's say, lived in a certain size house. Now they upgrade their lives because they're doing better financially, but they don't digest it properly. They think the materialism is going to make them happy. Now they live in that house. Now they've just created a new baseline. They're just as unhappy. Their happiness levels, remember the studies by Dan Gilbert, hasn't changed over the course of time. Maybe for the first month, maybe the first 6 months, but over time. But now they've conditioned themselves to need this level. So if anything happens in the future, or if they their kids get married to someone, whatever it is, and they downgrade their standard of living, they now are less happy. So materialism is actually a trap if it's not done properly. So how does one build their happiness? So what's really critical, and if you've been with us for a while, we've been reviewing this, is this concept that the brain cannot focus on too many things at once. But once we understand that, we recognize that while we can't control the city, we can control the bridge. What do I mean? The city. Right? Think of your brains like a city, right? In the old days when like New York City was like rocking, I think now New York City is like basically empty from what I'm hearing. But 6 months ago, when you used to walk the streets of Manhattan on a regular random Tuesday, you would see that the entire city is bustling. People are walking back and forth. Every block, every building has floors. Every floor has rooms. Every room has conversation. Like, just think about the amount of activity in just Manhattan. All the blocks, all the cross streets, all the traffic, all the offices, all the cubicles, everything going on in a day. There's no way a human being can control that. God can, with a little tiny virus, but the rest of the world cannot. There's no way a human being can control the activity of a city. Picture your brain as a city. It has billions and billions and billions of connections. You're talking about neural connections in ways you can't dream of. Today I was praying this morning, and I'm sitting in my prayers, and I don't know when this happened. I go back to like 17 years old in this person's house, and like for like a second, I'm like, how did I get back there? I'm in the middle of praying. Somehow my brain still has this memory. And it triggered because I saw somebody over Shabbat, and then that somehow triggered a game that I was playing in. And at that game, that person, does it ever happen to you? We're like, how did I get? And then if you just like stop and trace it, you're like, you randomly saw something, and that person reminded you, and before you realize it, you're like across the world 3 times. You know what's going on in your brain? And that's just like memory. Forget like activity. Forget like to get through the day, to do the things, to read the language. Your brain is a city. Your brain's got, you can't control your brain. But there's only a couple of bridges to get into Manhattan. There's only a couple of ways in. It's an island. So there's some tunnels and some bridges. Just shut down the tunnels and shut down the bridges, and no one can get in. You'll control the city. Now, you may not control something inside, but you'll control it if you control the bridges and the tunnels. That's the strategy for our brains. You can't control what's going on in their brain. What you could do is you can control how things come into your brain. And if you can control what comes into your brain will take care of itself. Your brain will slowly synaptic prune the stuff that's not as relevant. It'll be there, but it won't be like so, and it'll build new. If you can find the bridges and the tunnels of your brain, now you can make a change. And the bridges and the tunnel of your brain is your focus, is your attention, and that is limited. What's going on here is for all sense and purposes, it's unlimited. I mean, it's limited. It's like, I don't know, billions, but for all practical purposes, what goes on in your brain is unlimited. But what comes into your brain is controllable. That's why it's really important. I mean, like really important to watch what we see, what we hear, what we digest. It is not okay to indiscriminately digest everything people send at you. I think I've read this for years, and now for sure, about how many people have doubled and tripled the impact of their lives by just shutting off like random news. How the indiscriminate news, the pop-ups you get. You ever get those pop-ups? They love that. I get them everywhere on all my devices. I used to get them all the time, the pop-ups. Everyone's got something. You know, the best part is that I put on one of my devices is ESPN. ESPN is an app for sports. So when I'm running, or sometimes I just want to see what's going on, like, I have that I try so hard to pull back from the indulgence of what I was in my youth. And like ESPN has like a like, so every time there's like an news alert, and the news in like ESPN is like like some football player, tweets to his team, like, let's go. That's news. That just took my attention. And then if you're on this news app, it's like the world is collapsing. The world is collapsing. Everybody's dying. Like, the world is sending us so much stuff because they want our attention. You can't. My son was telling this to me today. He was on YouTube watching one of the shows. They watched this like show called Dude Perfect. It's like a bunch of guys doing crazy stuff and trick shots. And like someone was saying, he was watching Dude Perfect, and like he stopped watching it because like even YouTube was like sending stuff, and like it's impossible. Everywhere you go, people are scrambling for your attention. In the old days, you used to have like a screen, so like everybody knew that if you wanted to like engage in media, you had to go to the thing in your house called the television. And we used to sit there and like we used to like wait for the Cosby Show, for those who were old enough to remember those days. And like you just there and wait, and then like in between the shows they would show you something. But like when you weren't engaged, today it's our attention is and And at the end of the day, if we really want to break it down, negative is much more relevant to our brains than positive, right? Remember we said that your brain, everything comes to your brain, right? They go through your schema, but the things your brain focuses on first are things that are relevant and things that are dangerous. That's your survival technique. That's how it keeps you alive. When something is dangerous, it will always focus on that first. Because it has to. Because at the end of the day, the car that's swerving is much more relevant to you on the road than the song that's playing. So as soon as you have a car swerving, you don't even hear the song anymore. You don't think that news outlets know this? You don't think that marketing agents understand psychology? You better believe they do. You better believe that in marketing agencies, these are super smart people. I can't even tell you some of the things that I've been learning, and I can't even tell you what's going on in some of these marketing agencies. They're like psychological experts. They can like probably put, professors in universities in their back pocket. And one of the things that they're doing is they're recognizing that things that are raw and scary get our attention. So of course you're going to stop what you're doing when there's some kind of headline that says we're all going to die. God forbid. Or this is going to happen. Of course, when somebody wants you to vote or to buy, they're going to somehow tie it into some base need. And so what's happening is that if we're indiscriminate in what we're seeing or hearing, then we're indiscriminate in terms of what's coming into our focus. So that means that we're just letting it all in. So we are conditioning ourselves to be negative without even realizing it. If you have negative people around you, they're bringing negativity into your life. They may be related to you and you can't like just leave, but you got to recognize that negativity is hurting your focus. Your attention is a small little window. You only get 110 to 130 bits of information per second. It's a bridge. That's what we got. It's the bridge into our minds. And when we talk about wanting to have a happier life, when we're around things and people that are competing, what they're competing for is not our brains. No one's going to mess. They're competing for the bridge, for the attention. That's where the fight of life is. The fight of every day takes place as to where are you taking the bridge? Where are you focusing that window on? Who controls the bridge? If it's a wide open bridge, anything can go back and forth, then why would you think you can control the city? If anyone could say anything, if you can watch anything, if you can listen to anything, if everything just comes in and out indiscriminately, if there's no toll bridges or gates or forts that are up to make sure that what comes at you in the world is being somehow filtered in, then why do we think that we should be thinking anything other than what the world wants us to think? So as part of our plan for the happiness, we have to recognize that some of our unhappiness is coming because the world wants us to be unhappy. It's not like a grand like conspiracy theme. It's not like there aren't like two people sitting like in a room like devising us. Just how life works. The happier you are, the more you're in control, and the less you are in need of what everyone else has. When someone stands in front of you on Instagram and says, if you buy this, you're going to be rich. Trust me. You're going to trust me. Look, don't you want what's behind me? And you're like, yeah. Just a second ago, what you had was amazing. But when you keep on seeing the guy who looks just like you, who tells you that you can get what he has, and all he's got to do is work an hour a day, and you hear that long enough, you're like, wait, maybe I should. Where do I get it? Doesn't mean you can't be ambitious, but ambition shouldn't be coming from this constant state of needing to fill our mouths with more materialism. Real ambition is the ambitions we had when we grew up. You ever watch it? The most ambitious people that we know are 3-year-olds. They're really ambitious. They never stop, and they always grow, but they're not in need. The ambition comes from a desire to be greater, not from a desire to need something, to fulfill something that you didn't need before. So if we're not even aware of this, then like, what's the point of doing all the good work? Like, if we're not aware of at least the process of how things are coming into our minds, if we are just indiscriminately being thrown by people, if we're not even aware of our minds, that's, if we would have to like sum up what we're trying to do here, you know, this is the 100th episode, so we should get like a theme. If we really want to be thematic of what the whole show is about, it's awareness of self and of thought, just so that we can control it better, just so that we can be greater. If we're aware of our thinking, if we're aware of how our brain works, if we're aware of what our needs are, if we're aware of why I do what I do, then we can begin to control it and then direct ourselves in the direction I want. Because at the end of the day, the life that we want is in our hands. It's just that we have given the control up. We can get the life we want. We just have given up the controls to somebody else. And when somebody else can indiscriminately and immediately change our emotions, they are in control. Period. It could be 2:00 in the afternoon and some email or some text or some alert pops up and I'm thrown, I'm not in control of my day. The computer screen's in control of my day, and I hope the computer screen is good to me. If I go to work and my boss can control my day, that I'm not in control of my day, he is, and I hope he's good to me today. If I walk out the block and I see someone has something that I want and I'm thrown by it because I'm not in control. How can I ever attempt to be fully happy if I still believe that getting things make me happy? That I'm not in control of happiness, the thing's in control of happiness. How could I ever be happy if at any moment somebody in some room somewhere could hit send and it can throw my feelings? I'm not talking about big things in life. I'm just talking about like getting through the day. So when we start moving into the area now about gratitude, which is what our next hurdle we have to get underneath is, we can't even begin the discussion of positive emotions that lead to happiness if we don't control the bridge. If we don't control the bridge, yeah, we can start building new blocks. It's like a city, right? The city can be filled with crime, and you can start regentrifying the city and cleaning up all the buildings and cleaning the graffiti and painting the walls. You could build better blocks of the city of your mind. But if you can't control the bridge, then all you need is a bunch of people to cross the bridge that are criminals, and here we go again. If you really want to clean up the city, first you got to throw down at least a guard to think, what am I doing this for? Why do I need this for? Do I need to have this thing on all day? Do I need to listen to this all day? Do I have to call him or her? Do I have to open up my day with my phone in my hand? Do I need to have my phone on me all day? Do I need that? Am I an ER doctor? Do I really need this person to control how I feel? I'm 50. They've been controlling how I feel since I was 20. Do I have to always be thrown? That's the first thing we have to build. Because once we start to knock out the bad things, and we start to realize that we have to rebuild the inside, we have to first rebuild the inside by throwing a guard on the bridge. And that's what our goal for today is. And the whole week. Just watch the bridge. Don't do anything yet. Watch the bridge. For those that are journaling, this will be easier. Watch it for the day, for the week. Watch what you're thinking about. Watch. Pretend like you're watching yourself. Just watch your day. Where does it come? Where is the information coming from? That person who's in your ear, are they negative? How negative are they? That same friend, that same thing. Forget the self-talk. Let's leave yourself out for a second. What am I doing during my day that's bringing in positive stuff? Watch the day a little bit. Maybe we'll start to build a defense system. Because when you can control the bridge, you control the city. This is the siege. You siege the city, you control it. All right, we'll talk about this. All right, everybody. Mazel tov to those that are with us. Happy anniversary if this is your first time being here or your 100th time being here. I hope we get to do this all the way until we get to see each other live in Jerusalem, hopefully one day soon. Thanks so much. With God's help, I cannot wait to see you again tomorrow.